and they're promoting it. That's who I yell at. It's like, you can go do whatever you want. I believe in freedom of choice, and I believe the market should experiment with shitcoins all day long. It's the promoting of them. There. It's the equating
I agree
of
with you.
them to Bitcoin that I can't stand. There's just no equating.
Jim is hitting on it. We should not be upset with people who are trading shitcoins, who are caught up in the hype, blah, blah, blah. But this is the line in the sand for me. The people who are promoting shitcoins, yes, I do have a fucking problem with you. I have a big fucking problem with you. And we're going to have it out in front of everybody. You know? That should be the line in the sand for everybody. You talk about like purity tests being sort of endless. Well, that's a pretty clear distinction. I think everybody can agree that is an immoral behavior, and that needs to be rooted out by whatever means necessary.
Yeah, well, that I tell you, the weird one on Chamath was the BitClout thing. I just did not understand why you would go and create such an obvious, stupid system. Like, I get the idea of creating that. It looked to me like a modern day fan club, right? You create a walled garden to create content for fans, blah blah blah. But to wrap a stupid shitcoin in it the way they did. And release it without actually getting permission from anyone, and then clearly load up the value of themselves and their friends. It was just so poorly thought through and lacked so much self-awareness that I thought it was quite staggering.
Do you know what I've heard from really rich people is essentially this. They had to sit on the sideline in 2017 during the ICO boom because they knew that all of the ICOs were illegal security offerings, every single one of them. And they all had too much money to get, the regulatory heat, the scrutiny that would come with their investments in those projects. So this time around, they have new structures that aren't illegal securities offerings, right? This is why JPEGs are trading for $69 million. You know what I mean? Because the rich participants who had to sit on the side last time are going to be damned if they're kept out of grifting money from retail investors this time around. That's what they do. That's their bread and butter. And now they have legal structures that allow it.
I would speculate that Chamath and his buddies who created BitClout were looking for another subversive way to obfuscate the facts and position themselves to win big at the expense of other people who will never do their homework and will simply go off the reputation of the person they believe is an honest investor, just trying to help them learn some stuff and clue them into something. When he promotes BitClout, he is pumping his own bags, and I bet most people wouldn't know that. Now, I would, without knowing the actual facts, I would be willing to bet that if you dug deep enough, that most of his business deals have similar metrics behind them. He finds ways to use regulatory capture, words on paper written by governments that give benefits to some corporations over others, that allow for investments to be made by only certain people and not others. And when you can play at that level, you get to steal money from unwary people all over the world that have no idea you're getting their investment money. They just think you're a great guy trying to point them to the future, and you realize the future came and went, and you're just picking up the pieces from all those idiots that didn't see what you got to see because you're on the inside. And this is what all the bigwigs get. This is what all the rich people get because they're closest to the money spigot, because the entire fucking system is broken because the motherfuckers who print money out of thin air and steal our productivity in the process, right? Everything is broken because of it.
I knew Chamath was intellectually disingenuous when he posted that thread on Twitter about inflation being helpful for the poor.
Unbelievable.
He knows that's not
fucking
accurate.
insane.
He knows inflation helps the rich. You know why? Because the rich own assets, and asset inflation is what's caused by money printing. So the rich get richer. Meanwhile, the poor only own their labor, and labor is stagnant. You know what I mean? So
I think anyone who's
behind.
successful
Putting out a thread like that
and has built a profile,
you're such a piece of shit.
One of the most important things they can do is find somebody who sits alongside them and is willing to call them out privately and keep an eye on what they're doing. Like, I have it with my sound engineer, Danny. We have a very honest and open relationship. I'm like, Danny, if I'm pushing it too far, if I'm trolling too hard, if I'm being a bit of a dick, you've got to tell me and try and rein me in. Like, everybody needs that. And what seemed like, I actually take it back, whatever period, maybe it's 6 months or a year. I actually quite liked listening to Chamath in interviews. There was things he said I was like, that's really smart. That's really interesting. I kind of like that without knowing too much about him. And then he seemed to get this, and then his profile seemed to shut up, and he went through a period where it was kind of like, he became very vocal on governance ideas regarding the city. I think it was like San Francisco, and became very vocal on a number of issues. And he was seeing a lot of likes and retweets, and I think he's got like 1 million followers. And I think perhaps he's lacking that person who's like pulling him in and saying, look, hold on, dude, you really need to be thinking about what you're saying. This isn't coming across well. And I think a lot of people need to think about having that person in their life. And I think he seems to be missing that. One of the things, though, is like, I don't always like talking about people. So, I mean, I doubt he'll listen to this, but I would actually rather do a face-to-face with him and talk about this with him. And I think that would be a good interview to do at some point. But I think there's another thing going on, Jim, when you talk about this. I think there must be like an ego competition within Silicon Valley where, like, I don't think BitClout is just about making more money. Like, when you're a billionaire, how much more do you need? I think part of it is an ego about creating the next big thing. Like, Jack Dorsey has created Square, Twitter, a whole bunch of stuff. Elon Musk has created SpaceX and Tesla and the Boring Company. I'm wondering if he's thinking more legacy. All right, well, if we get this BitClout thing right, it might be a Twitter competitor. We might take down. I might have put my line in the sand and done something here, like create his legacy. I don't think he's in it for the money anymore. But I just think there is like a group of people there in Silicon Valley who are. There's another thing going on here as well. I was talking about this last night with Jack Mallers. The thing about Bitcoin is you have skin in the game. I have skin in the game. Jim, you do. Hodl, you do. We've all got skin in the game. It's really important for us for Bitcoin to succeed because we've got so much of our net wealth tied up in it. If Bitcoin just suddenly crashed, that would be very, very damaging to us. Chamath can hold way more Bitcoin than all of us and then also hold billions of dollars in investments and in the bank. Bitcoin fails. Materially, his life isn't going to change that much. So he can just fucking go and do other things. Like, this is important for us, for our family and our future. And I think there's that's another dynamic going on as well.